So if you could just first quick introduce yourself, give your name, and like say what you're doing.
I'm Suzanna Norbeck. I come from Florida in the United States, and I'm with Mediators Beyond Borders International.
And I'm Greg Walker. I'm a professor at Oregon State University in Oregon of the U.S., where I teach courses in conflict management, negotiation, and mediation. And I'm here representing both Mediators Beyond Borders International and the International Environmental Communication Association.
Thank you so much. So, what is your major role here as a mediator in the COP23?
Maybe we have different roles, but for sure we're here to tell people about mediation, what it is and how successful it is in resolving disputes in a peaceful way so people end up with a win-win instead of one wins and one loses. So that's the basic part of what we're doing. Also, we are involved with listening to trying to get language any way that we can, trying to get mediation language into any part of the dispute resolution procedures that have to do with the accords for the Paris Agreement. Would you elaborate on that?
Well, I would just say that what has motivated the Mediators Beyond Borders project is the presumption that in implementing climate change policies, conflicts are inevitable. And those conflicts can be horizontal, in other words, let's say within a village, or they can be vertical between, let's say, a national government and a municipality, or again, an organization like a fishing community. We think since conflicts are inevitable, we need to include in the conversations about climate policy ways to manage those conflicts in a peaceful way, and mediation is one of those peaceful ways.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
It's not. So here, how do you influence international and national negotiations?
Oh, don't we wish? I think we've been first of all, we've been coming to the COPs since 2009. So, and Susie and I have been partners in these Mediators Beyond Borders booths like this really for many, many years. We've talked with thousands of people over the years at tables like this, not only about climate change, but really about mediation. So, do we influence people? Perhaps some. Has the conversation we have here sometimes led to a project? Yes. But we really don't know how much we've influenced. And certainly if you look at the language of the Paris Agreement, there is no specific reference to conflict management or mediation. We tried very hard to get language in, but to do that, we can't do it. We would need a country to advocate that. And we worked with a number of countries to try to get language in the Paris Agreement, but we fell short. So now our focus is on implementation, and again, keeping alive the idea that we've got to address conflict management in a constructive way. Is that a fair way to put it?
Fair way, but we've had success in other ways in that we have really encouraged a lot of people to take mediation training and bring it back to their own communities. And that's been a big, last year 35 different folks, whether they were delegates or representatives, asked us to come into their countries and teach either their villages or the area where they were working, or even some government organizations, teach them mediation skills. A lot of countries do not have mediation as a dispute resolution procedure. So 35 folks.
Yeah, we had a number of people in
We felt
America.
very, very successful last year. And already we've had some people this year wanting mediation training. It's so far, we've just been here for a while, but so far it's been more individual training than it has been a government or a group or a village. But we'll see what happens by the end of next week.
Do you think that mediation is the best way to settle environmental disputes?
Absolutely.
Not always. Well, let me clarify. If I phrase the question differently, does the presence of an impartial third party often help settle environmental conflicts? And the answer is yes. It might be a mediator, but it might be a facilitator. Let me explain briefly the difference. I'm both. But most of the work that I do is actually facilitation. Because I might design a day-long workshop with 100 people from the community representing, if you will, 20, 25 different stakeholder interests. I'm not really mediating those 100 people. Instead, I'm facilitating them. I'm guiding them toward an agreement or guiding them toward reaching some consensus. When I mediate, and Susie's actually got much more experience in mediation than I do, but when I mediate, I'm really focusing more on getting that agreement, if possible. When I'm facilitating, we're still agreement-oriented, but it's very much about dialogue, it's about learning, it's about building community, it's about creating a collaborative environment for ultimately making good decisions. So I've always thought of facilitation and mediation as very close cousins. As a facilitator, I use my mediation skills. As a mediator, I'm very well aware of the emphasis on dialogue and facilitation. Is that a fair way to put it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you have much more experience in mediation than I do. You've mediated a lot of different kinds of disputes over the years.
And I think it can be very, very successful.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody who's mentally ill, or just, usually you've got two reasonable people, and once they've had an opportunity to tell their story and get their feelings and emotions out and calm down, and then also become, what we do as mediators, we make sure everybody's on the same wavelength, that everybody has an equal amount of educational background to deal with the issue. So if we've got somebody who's had a lot of powerful experience in this area and the other person doesn't, we bring them up so that this person is able to communicate, knows the same financial information, whatever it might be. Everybody's in the same intellectual plane. They have
that idea of transparency and access to information.
And a last short question. So, what is your daily eco-friendly habit for the planet?
Well, it's not daily, but I just got my first electric car. So I now have a plug-in. so, and I didn't buy it, I leased it. So it's almost like renting it. But for the first time, it was a little bit more expensive, but I felt bad with a gas car, and so I got an electric car. But that's not a daily thing. I don't even drive every day. I drive about 2 days a week. But that's a good. I'll come up with a better answer.
I'm a vegan, and I have been for almost 18 years. So I don't eat any animal or any animal product, which I think helps our climate for sure. When I brush my teeth, I turn the water on to make my toothbrush wet, and then I turn it off. I turn it on when I get rid of the toothpaste. So I really try to be very conscious about my use of water. I recycle everything. I did buy a new car because I was very concerned about consumption of gas in my car, and I got a Volkswagen Jetta because I was really so proud that I was going to get 40 miles to the gallon and diesel fuel. Diesel, but it was the Jetta. It's the bad one. It's the bad one. And here, I spent all this extra money to get this eco-friendly car and find out that it's spewing more stuff. But I'm involved in the class action in Florida, and they've already offered me a huge sum of money. So I'm going to somehow be able to make up the difference, I hope. But yes, I'm very concerned about being fair to the climate.
I'll add one thing. I mean, on a daily basis, like Susie, recycle. I don't use plastic bags. I even travel with cloth bags. But what I think is important is that those of us who have a little bit of extra money, that we donate that money to organizations that are really doing, if you will, eco-friendly work. And I'll put in a plug for the Wangari Maathai Green Belt Initiative. She passed away 3-4 years ago, but she's a former, she won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2007, working in Kenya, teaching women in rural villages to plant trees. And it became a global movement, and so for everyone watching this in Belgium and beyond, if you're thinking about donating a few dollars, look for organizations like Wangari Maathai's organization, the Green Belt Trust, and Green Belt Movement it's called, and let's plant a few more trees.
Even in investing for your retirement fund, I work with an advisor, and I told him I want eco-friendly investments. I do not want anything that has to do with oil or gas or coal. And so I have a special fund that is eco-friendly.
Thank you so much for answering.
Thank you.